Brodie Brazil here at SAP Center, where tonight it was the Sharks365 Insider event. And what a cool opportunity for fans to have the chance to ask questions of Team President Jonathan Becher, General Manager Mike Grier, and Head Coach Ryan Warsofsky. Our session went on for almost an hour. We can't bring you all of that, but we do have these highlights.
Joe Janacek has a difficult one here for Mike Grier. What is the realistic expectation for the future of Logan Couture?
Well, Couture's rehabbing. He's been around our team. I think it's a fair question, but it's not really something for me to get into. I think right now it's more about Logan the person than Logan the hockey player. So he's working. He's around the group. He's helping our young guys out. He's in contact with Warsaw about the group, and doing the best he can to kind of help us out.
Coach, we have some props here. We haven't talked about these yet. The vest and the helmet to my right over here. Now, usually teams hand out something after a game, one thing, but the Sharks this year have two things. I'm curious the significance of these two items, how they came to be, and how do these get handed out after games?
Yeah, I think the players selected the football helmet, and I think it was Mario Ferraro that maybe chose that, and just something unique that we wanted to give out, and the players give it out to each other of who was they believe the player of the game was. Doesn't always have to be the goal scorer. It can be the goaltenders, which we've seen a lot of this year. But so the players give that one out, and the coaches give out the vest. We kind of came up with something this year of course we're trying to. The big thing is we're trying to put winning habits and the foundation in place right now, and those habits usually come down to small details. And at the end of the day, that was what helped you win hockey games. You see that with the great teams in the league right now is they do all the little things really, really well. So the vests we give out to a player that maybe it's a block shot, makes a play on the wall, it takes a big hit, makes a big hit. So it's something that happens that's a little bit more smaller detail that helps us win the hockey game, because I think it's important to point out Cody Ceci. He's not always on the score sheet, but he might block a big shot. And for example, last night we gave it to our video coaches, Nick and Cody, that got that challenge. So those guys deserve it. They watch a lot of challenges. They watch every goal that's scored, every goal that's taken back every year, and they have a really good pulse on what's going on. And it's a split, 30-second decision that we have to come up and make a decision. And I've got to give kudos to those guys last night.
There has been some talk and discussions with the city of San Jose about the future of this building, SAP Center, and kind of where the Sharks ultimately fit into that. Can you tell us a little bit about where that process currently stands?
Can you ask me an easier question?
No. I started with the easy ones. Now it's going to get progressively tougher. But I know that's a curiosity of a lot of people.
Yeah, fair enough. So maybe some background, and I think most people know, but it's worth repeating. We are the oldest building in the NHL now that hasn't gone through a major renovation. Technically, Seattle and Madison Square Garden, New York, are chronologically older, but they both had multi-billion-dollar renovations, so it doesn't really count. We've been in confidential discussions with the city of San Jose for longer than I care to admit, I guess, but intensively since earlier in 2024, with the general purpose of two things. One is to extend the lease that we're in the building, because it's a city-owned building. They're the landlord. We're essentially the renter from the building as well. We pay rent, et cetera. As I think some of you know, it's an unusual rental situation because we pay for all the maintenance on the building. Normally when you rent from a landlord, when the roof breaks, the landlord pays for it, but we do, so it's kind of strange. So we want to keep our lease going. We'd love to stay here forever. That's a strong word, but at least extend the lease 10, 20, 30, 40 years, something substantial. But we also want to protect your fan experience in and around the building as well. You've all read the press. I don't need to tell you about the articles. There's lots of changes that have been proposed, some of which will happen, some will look like they won't happen around it as well. Over the last 10-ish years, Hasso's paid $100 million plus of improvements in the building, from the gigantic center hung that you see above us to the penthouse lounge that's up there to stuff you don't really think about. We rebuilt the entire ice floor, the ice plant, et cetera. He's more than willing to continue to invest in the building, but as long as it's the building we get to use, et cetera. I'd say in general, discussions have gone well. There's a fair amount of detail still to be worked out. I'm by nature a very optimistic guy, but city negotiations can always trip up on small things, and I think the key here is we don't want it just to be a hockey building. For those of you that are around this building, there are 100+ other events in this building during the year as well, and so making this sort of the center of San Jose and continuing that tradition, it goes well beyond hockey because it is the city building.
So it's going well, and it's going. That's the
I would say yes. The difference of where we were a year ago is we weren't going, and now we're going.
Is there urgency to this?
From my perspective, there's a huge amount of urgency. Some of you may also know there's sort of a change in the way this model works on July 1, 2025, and so we don't want to get to July 1, 2025 without a deal.
All right. Good to know. Let's move on to Mike Grier, and let's talk about
Thanks for the hard question.
Yeah, well, here comes Grier's hard question.
Okay.
You're not the first team to ever go through the rebuilding process. I'm just curious that, there's other teams that have done it well, done it quicker, done it slower. Do you look at any other teams as a model of a good rebuild and maybe one to follow? I know it's a hard thing to kind of duplicate. It's a very complicated process, but are there any other teams out there that you think have done it the right way across any sport?
Yeah, I think we kind of pay attention to all the leagues and what teams are doing. It's definitely a difficult thing, and people attack it different ways. So from our standpoint, I think we kind of try to take what we see, things that have worked and the good in them and the ideas of them, and take those and try and stay away from maybe some of the things that we think didn't work, and we're not there with those teams, and we don't know the reasons why those things didn't work, whatever the sport may be, and we just try and stick to what we believe. It's a difficult process to go through that you can't rush. I think we'd all like to kind of step on the gas and speed it up, but you have to kind of take your time, go through the steps, and do it right. I don't want to, name any names or team names that people have done it right, but there's some teams that have done it quicker and better than others, and there's some teams that are kind of still going through it. So, I think that's kind of the balancing act is finding the right balance of what's right and trying to avoid some of the pitfalls and traps that other teams have fallen into.
Quicker seems easier. Is quicker better?
Quicker's not always better, no, I would say, but sometimes you get a little luck and things turn around quicker than expected, and I think that when that happens, you're obviously thrilled, but I would say 9 out of 10 times there's no quick way to get out of these situations.
We know a lot of you, most of you are current 365 members, and some of you here are thinking about joining tonight, so that's obviously encouraged. One more thought on that note, Jonathan, obviously an uptick in excitement around this team, but also obviously attendance too, and the numbers seem like this year they're going in a better direction from an attendance standpoint. What can you share with us?
You called it vibe before? I think that's right. I think the
director of vibes told me to use that
got
word.
It. Is he here tonight? I think that was a Thornton imitation. Is that right?
That wasn't obvious? Got to work on my jumbo.
So look, I'd actually like to thank everybody here and that shows up. Saturday night, I think, was our 9th sellout this season, and we only had 9 sellouts all of last season, so that's one indication that things have actually improved substantially, so thank you all. Some of you may have seen, particularly those of you in the media, a report that came out around the NHL, which is our increase as of January 1 was double-digit percentages, which made us top 3 in all the NHL this year. So thank you again for a lot more attendance this year than in years past. I think there are lots of other interesting numbers for those of you numbers people as well. TV ratings are up like 65% year over year, which is, for those who've ever been around the TV business, that's a ridiculously large number. So thank you for that as well. My favorite number actually is merchandise sales have more than doubled this year from last year. And a lot of that strength of merchandise is not local. Those are other places in the U.S. and international sales, as the interest in our team has changed dramatically, partially because of Macklin and the other young kids as well, to the point that our young core is actually the strongest overall merchandise sales in all the NHL. So the numbers do look good.
Well, now you can do a mic drop. That concludes the Q&A panel portion. We appreciate all of your questions and for just listening along. So thank you very much.